Citroen is a brand in a state of flux, as it once again finds itself trying to establish a unique identity from its Peugeot sister brand. This is the new C4, and as you might have noticed, it's no longer a hatchback. It's merged onto this kind of weird crossover shape, and it's the first in a new generation of Citroen products which will all adopt this kind of styling going forward. The question is, does it have the right ingredients to increase its appeal to an Australian audience? We're going to find out, and this review will be split into our normal 8 subheads. You can see the time codes for those on your screen now, and if you are watching on YouTube, they'll be in the timeline or the description below. As always, remember you can check out the full written review over on carsguide.com.au, and if you are watching on YouTube and you are enjoying our videos, remember to hit those like, subscribe and bell notification icons. They'll help you keep up to date with all of our latest content. Pricing is always a tricky topic for a product as niche as the C4, but I think Citroen has played it pretty smart this time around with a single highly specified variant. You'll see the price for that on your screen now. It looks pretty good, but what do you get for the money? Let's take a look.
Citroen has missed the mark on value before, but the C4 Shine is keenly priced considering the amount of equipment on offer, with some rare inclusions for this segment, as well as some items which set it apart from the pack. The brand likes to say the C4's new shape will appeal to a new range of buyers, both those who would consider a hatch and those who are looking for a small SUV. But I think its crossover shape and dimensions pitted against mid to high spec forms of the Subaru XV, Toyota CHR, and the remarkably similarly shaped Mazda MX-30. Tough competition, but then this Citroen gets some great gear, equipped with items like 18-inch alloy wheels, full LED lighting, a 10-inch multimedia touchscreen with wired Apple CarPlay and Android Auto connectivity, a 5.5-inch digital dash cluster, dual-zone climate control, full synthetic leather interior trim, a holographic head-up display, and a top-down parking camera. Some more unusual spec items at this price include massage seats and hydraulic dampers in the suspension system. It's worth noting that the seats aren't fully electrically adjustable, with manual adjust fore and aft and electric adjust for the base and back only. There's also no option for all-wheel drive like some rivals, and the digital dash and holographic display also leave a little to be desired. The C4 also gets the full suite of available safety items as standard, leaving only the sunroof and premium paints as options. On a final note, you might be wondering where the hybrid or electric version of this car is, and the answer is Europe. Yep, there's a fully electric version of the C4 overseas with 350 kilometers of range, but it's not headed to Australia. At least not yet, with Citroen and Peugeot's importer focusing on the electrification of the Peugeot brand in the immediate future.
Standing apart from the crowd these days is really hard because there are so many great designs on the market. But grabbing a few eyeballs is something that I really think Citroen needs to do, and just take one look at the C4. Isn't it weird and wonderful?
Yep, this bizarre melding of the design principles of a hatch and a small SUV certainly got a few looks in my time with the car. And while a lot of cars like this claim to be different from rivals, the C4 beyond nails that brief. Some design elements are really cool, like the light profile, flat and wide bonnet, and the roofline, which add up to a shape which almost defies definition. There are references to Citroen's past in the long snout and glasshouse liftback, but I think it adds up to something eye-grabbing and postmodern. Like Citroen models past, I also think the C4 is designed to polarize onlookers. Still, bringing some unusual ideas to this space is always welcome. Now, in Citroen's past, you could always rely on the brand to bring you a strange-looking interior with some different designs, but not necessarily great quality plastics or claddings. In the age of Stellantis, though, the brand is able to dip into a new and seemingly much higher quality parts bin.
Now, modern Citroens do share a lot of their hardware and switchgear with Peugeot products, but that's not to say that they don't have their own personality, and I think the C4 really leans into something a little bit unique in here. You'll see all sorts of little details like this pattern work in the door which works its way into the seats, and other little patterns and motifs that run all the way through the dash. The high belt line is a bit unique as well, but I think there are a lot of unique features about the C4 specifically which cross over with practicality. So let's take a look at that. Now, practicality-wise, there's a whole bunch of kind of weird and cool stuff in this Citroen. We'll start with the easy stuff that's in every car. And firstly, that starts with the nice big bottle holder in the door. There's a small pocket in there as well. It's not huge, but it'll hold things like small fold-down umbrellas and things. And there's two large bottle holders here as well. Now I ran into an issue with these this week. You can't actually put a large coffee in here because they're too deep and they'll take the lid off, which is something unusual that I haven't run into in a while. There's also a two-tiered storage shelf in here and another storage shelf above where you can put your phone. It seems like a bit of a missed opportunity for a wireless charger though. Connectivity wise, you do have a USB-C port and a USB 2 port, which is useful if you've only got one or the other cable, and it does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto in there as well, but that is again only wired. Unlike the Peugeots though, the Citroen does something really great, which I love, and that's that it has physical hardware for all the climate functions. You don't have to just control it through the screen. Just like the Peugeots, you can control it through the screen if you wish, but having that hardware there is just an excellent usability point for while you're driving the car. Elsewhere, things that we love, and this is where the Citroen starts to get really unique, is it has these really special seats. Now, these are filled with a memory foam, and we've loved this in Citroen's past. Citroen's like the C5 Aircross. We've raved about the quality of these seats. They are amazing. They are something different, and I don't know why more brands aren't putting this kind of quality memory foam and this quality synthetic leather trim on their seats. It's something that's kind of really special about this car. Now, other practicality features that are really unique start over here. There's a slide out tray as well. Now this reminds me of like James Bond's Aston Martin, like he's got like his Walther PPK in here and his defibrillator from Casino Royale. I love that. There's a huge box down here as well, and another slide out thing here. Now what is this? This holds a tablet. You have to buy a separate attachment for it, but the idea is it gives your front passenger their own multimedia system, and that's different. Now, in the back seat is where this Citroen's relatively long wheelbase comes into play for passengers in a big way, because despite that coupe roofline and sort of short hatch-like dimensions, I actually have heaps of room in here. I'm 182 centimeters tall and I've got space for my knees, I've got space for my feet. The only place that it's not so good is headroom is a little tight. Now, rear passengers haven't been ripped off either in terms of those really nice trims and patterns and designs that come from the front seat as well. These memory foam seats continue, they're lovely. These pattern works in the door continue through into the seats as well, and even the backs of the front seats are clad in that nice synthetic leather finish as well. Now, amenity wise, you get a large bottle holder in the doors which just fits our largest CarsGuide bottle. There's no drop down armrest though, so there's no extra cup holders, keep that in mind, but you do get two adjustable air vents and a single USB port.
The boot comes in at 380 litres, which is a tad smaller than some rivals, regardless of whether you're cross-shopping hatchbacks or small SUVs. Space expands out significantly with the seats folded down owing to that roofline, and the C4 has a 16-inch space-saver spare wheel under the boot floor.
There's just one engine in the C4 range. It's a peppy little 1.2 litre 3-cylinder turbo thing. You'll see the power figures for that on your screen now. It also drives the front wheels only through a 8-speed torque converter automatic transmission, and that all sounds pretty good to me. So let's take a look what it's like behind the wheel.
I always think it's a bit of a shame that French cars are so overlooked in Australia, because cars like this one, the C4, they're actually quite a bit of fun to drive. And this is for a lot of reasons. And the first one is that engine and transmission combination. It doesn't sound like it has an overwhelming amount of power, and truth be told, it doesn't. It does struggle a little bit when you really push it, but it's got a lot of character, and I love that about it. This 3-pot engine has such a gruff, rugged tone, especially when you're pushing it up that rev range, which you'll need to do frequently because, as I mentioned, it's not that powerful. And this ASIN 8-speed torque converter transmission is fantastic too. It just notches through the gears in a very satisfying way, and it's great in other French cars and even German cars as well. And that gets down to one of the other core things about the C4 here. Not only does it improve on French cars that have come before it, but if you haven't driven a French car in a while, a lot of the complaints we used to have about them, the nasty plastics, weird steering, bad transmissions, they have really all fallen to the wayside. There are areas where the Citroen sets itself apart from its Peugeot siblings as well, and it does it in a rather unique way. For a start, the steering tune is really, really light, and it lends into this whole concept of this car being a comfort-first vehicle. It makes it really easy to maneuver in tight scenarios or when you're pretty much at a standstill, and it also makes it easy to maneuver in corners as well, and that's something that I didn't expect, because the Peugeots, while they also have a reasonably light steering tune, it is full of feel and it does have a bit more weight when you get it up to more speed. The seats are great too, even on the longest trips. This memory foam, you really just sink into it and it feels like you're just floating on this car, which is really nice. And not in a bad way either. I've complained about other small SUVs like this before, in that the seating position makes it as though you're sitting on the car rather than in it. But even with these funky seats, the Citroen doesn't feel like that at all. It does feel just engaging enough to give you a nice drive. Elsewhere, the funky suspension in this car is interesting. It's not fully hydraulic suspension, it only has hydraulic dampers, but it does add a layer of filtration and a layer of removal from the road for passengers that isn't present in other cars, and it is something quite unique. Now, to be clear, this suspension system isn't the kind of system that's designed to inspire the most confident driving experience on the road. It is very focused around comfort. It does have a bit of pitch and roll in the corners, and it's not really designed to. It is designed around that comfort experience, which is an interesting take by Citroen, and it is designed to be different too, because if you do want this engine and transmission combination with a little bit of better handling, you can choose something like a Peugeot 308. There are other options in the Stellantis catalogue. Those who are looking for something really different and, more importantly, comfortable in this segment will really be rewarded with this system though, especially at the price that this car is offered at. Some things I didn't like as much: this digital dash and holographic head-up display combination isn't the best. It's not customizable at all, and it seems to show a lot of redundant information. I would like to see a little bit more in that department, especially since the Peugeots have proven to be able to do that. Also, reaching this touchscreen can be a bit tricky, and you only do have a cropped in version of Apple CarPlay instead of utilizing the entire space, which is a bit of a shame too. But it is nice to see physical dials and shortcut buttons for the most important features. Other things that were less good: visibility is quite limited, and that's down to this car's funky design. The belt line across the doors and the front window even are quite narrow, and seeing out the back with that coupe window and spoiler that cuts across really does limit what you can see. So overall, where does that leave our C4? Well, overall, it is a car that focuses on comfort, and it does that really well, especially considering the price. And it's nice to see that it's not boring to drive either. It really improves on this formula that already has a high standard set by other products from Peugeot in the Stellantis group, and that's really great to see. Fuel consumption. Now, this is less of a good story. I was expecting a little bit better here on my test, given that it's got such a small little engine and an abundance of ratios in that transmission. The official number, you'll see that on your screen now. It's not too bad, but on my test, I actually overshot that by quite a lot, with my car producing closer to 8.4 litres to 100 kilometres, which, well, you can do better. The C4 has a 50-litre fuel tank, and it does require mid-shelf 95 fuel like most of these other modern European engines.
With no option packs in sight, the C4 Shine gets all of the available safety gear, including auto emergency braking, lane keep assist with lane departure warning, blind spot monitoring, adaptive cruise control, and driver attention alert. Some active items like rear cross traffic alert and rear auto braking available on cars like Mazda's CX-30 are missing from this list, and the AEB system is missing some of the more up-to-date features like junction assist, worth noting. The C4 received only 4 ANCAP stars in its recent test, where it was marked down for not having a center airbag to prevent head injury for front passengers in the event of a side impact, marginal protection for pedestrians in the event of a collision, and marginal nighttime performance of its AEB system.
Now, ownership. You get a 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty, although service pricing was pretty high. Let's take a look at that as well.
Not going to lengths to change the idea that European cars are a bit expensive to take to the shop, the C4 service pricing comes in at a bit of a painful average of nearly $500 a year for the first 5 years. To give you some context, that's more than twice what it will cost to service a Toyota CHR over the same period. It's weird, it's wacky, and most importantly, it's a little bit of fun. Every segment could use an alternative like the Citroen C4, and this car should be applauded as well for focusing on comfort as its strong point in an otherwise busy small SUV segment. It's not going to be for everyone, not every Citroen is, but I think those who are willing to take a chance on this car will be rewarded with a car that offers something different, but also some decent value as well.